Hey, good morning, Randy. This is a quick demo video for you for your Reyflex by 89 Sabers. This is, of course, by 89 Sabers, purchased through Carl Chen over at CC Sabers. It is installed with a Proffie. I've got all your fonts on here. It's a 2-button setup. So your red switch here, your button on top will be your power. This this slide tab right here on the side, it's a little hard to focus because this thing's so shiny. But this tab right here is on a spring-loaded system, so you just push back on it for auxiliary features, and I'll show you that here in a second as well. All right, you've got a Carl Chen lit Neopixel connector in here, so all of those LEDs on that PCB light up. This does take a 1-inch diameter Neopixel blade, so if you don't have one of those, you'll need to get one. All right, and then this is your blade retention screw, this flathead screw right here. All right, sorry, let me turn my phone off real quick. I did go through, I put some of the weld damage on here. I painted it a little bit black. I didn't go too crazy on it because the rest of the Saber is pretty shiny, but try to give it just a little bit of contrast. All right, and that's what I did there. Painting is admittedly not my strongest suit, but I did the Dremel work pretty close to as accurate as I could get it. All right, now your handle is on a J-lock system. So what that means is to get it off and get to your chassis, what you'll want to do is grab your handle, push it in or towards the front of the Saber, and then go counterclockwise with it. All right, and then it'll come right out. If you look at your handle, I'm going to go in depth a little bit here because as I understand it from Rumen, you don't have too many custom Sabers like this, so we'll just go through everything. All right. This channel right here is called a J-lock system because it's in the shape of a J, but there's 2 tabs that you can't see on this clamp. You might be able to just barely see one by my finger over there, and then there's an opposing one 180 degrees from it right there by my pinky. All right, so those tabs, when you push the handle in, they slide into these slots. Then you got to push the handle forward, turn it, and it locks in place. All right, and that's how you put the handle on. This is your actual chassis. So you've got a Proffie board right here, an OLED screen right in front of it. You've got some LEDs that I like to put in the chassis here. So you've got a 6-pixel accent strip right here. When you turn it over, you have another 6-pixel accent strip on the other side. They're wired in line with each other, so they act the same on both sides, but they're wired separately from the blade. All right. What I've done here, per Ruben's request, is I've got them doing a little something when the Saber is off, and then when we turn the actual Saber on, these go off. All right. So like the energy just goes to the blade. You have a 28mm Smuggler's Outpost Elite speaker. These speakers, in my opinion, are the best on the market, especially when you are able to fully enclose them like this. So there's material on all edges of this speaker. It just pushes the sound out. It sounds really good. The Reyflexes in general are not known to have the best sound resonance. As you can see from your pummel here, it doesn't look like you have anything, right? You do have some hidden sound venting that comes out of there, and it makes the Saber sound good, but it would be a little bit different than, you know, something like this where the pummel's wide open and you can actually see the speaker. So that does affect sound quality a little bit, but the Saber still does sound very good. All right. So when you put a battery in, there's going to be a battery included with your kit. Is an 18650 protected cell battery. It looks like this. If you ever buy more batteries for this Saber, it is very important that you get this type right here. You can go down to a 3000 milliamp. It doesn't have to be 3120. But it does need to be a protected cell 18650 with that max 15 amp continuous discharge current. So I'm going to leave the label on this battery in case you ever need it. All right, or if you need a link to buy more of those, let me know. I'm happy to send you a link. This is my test battery. It's the same thing. I just have the label off of it. But this spring side here by the clamp is the negative side of your battery. Please do not put your battery in backwards. All right, so we'll just put it in there. Spring side first, negative over here. That is your OLED screen. It tells you what version of the Proffie we're on. It also shows you a battery meter, so you know when your particular battery needs to be recharged. You can see your LEDs on both sides are going, right? Until we come over here and hit power. and your LEDs turn off, and everything goes to your blade. So that's what I was talking about. Those LEDs in there will fire up. And then I gave you twist off, and then when the blade goes off, the LEDs in the chassis will go back on, but they're on a timer. So if you don't turn the saber on right away, the LEDs will time out and turn off. That way they don't kill your battery. All right, so when we put our handle back on, we'll want to come back over here, find those 2 tabs, and put your handle on. All right, so just take your time. This handle fits a little snug, but it does go on. Push it forward, right, and then this time clockwise, and locks it in place. Now there's 2 different ways to put this handle on. You know, since there's 2 beer tabs that are 180 degrees from each other, you can put it on either way. But ideally what you'll want is one of these grips, as you can see right here, is a belt clip. So you can hang this from your belt, and that goes opposite side of this clamp right here. All right, so very easy to do. Again, come over here and hit power. Auxiliary is over here. And we'll twist it off. We'll put a blade in. So you'll want to use a flathead screw to, you know, just loosen this screw just enough to where it's outside of the blade socket. We'll talk about sound venting here too. I'm going to use a small test blade of mine, but this is set up for a full-length diameter blade. I'm not going to use the blade retention in this case because the blade fits pretty snug, but you would want to go back after you put your blade in and lock that flathead screw down right there next to my pinky. All right, and that way your blade won't go anywhere. Now in the future, if you want some better sound venting from this guy, you can go over here and you can drill some additional holes, or you can mill out some slots. It's up to you. Of course, you take away from the accuracy at that point. That is a trade-off on these particular Reyflexes. All right, but we'll turn this light off. This is a Rey font, or this is your Rey font, so I gave it a yellow blade. You have some nice shine through here. To switch sound fonts, you want to just tap auxiliary. Tapping auxiliary when the blade is on gives you blaster bolt deflex. If you want blade lockup, which you won't see very well on my test blade, but you'll see it on a full-length blade, hold down the auxiliary button and hit the saber. And then you can see it when I hold the saber straight up, right? But then as you bring the saber horizontal, it moves towards the tip of the blade, and then as you go vertical with it, the blade lockup moves closer down to the emitter. Every one of your sound fonts has a sound track, so to play that, do a long press on the power when the saber's off. And then do another long press to turn it off. Just like that. All right, just like that. It's your Bunta Champ Pod Racing font. Whoops.
Pod racing on Alistair. Very fast, very dangerous.
If you're ever cycling through fonts and you accidentally skip one and you want to go back instead of going forward in the menu, hold the saber upside down like this and flip the auxiliary switch. It will move back into the menu, or it'll go back one track. All right, so that's what I did there. So I gave you here, this is an orange unstable blade, just to kind of mimic an actual pod racer. And then the last font is my own. so you can have some fun with that one if you want. This has like a red smoke blade. Of all these blade styles, again, you'll see them a lot better on a full-length blade. I'd suggest somewhere around like a 34-inch. Don't go over 36-inch. It'll look a little goofy. And blade lock up. and then twist off just like that. All right, we'll go ahead and take the blade out of this guy. Did not use the blade retention. If you get a brand new blade, which I'm assuming you might because this is the first saber you've had, you'll need to do some sanding right along the edge here, and, like the same distance that it fits down into the saber. If you don't do some sanding on your blade, it won't fit. This particular brand of saber, or just by 89 Sabers, I mean the maker, right? All of their sabers have a super tight emitter. So sanding is required on the blade just a little bit, but it shouldn't be too much. But when we're done, we'll go ahead and take our handle back off, turn this back on. As you can see, there is quite a bit of difference in sound quality between the handle being on and off. All right, so you will need a tool to pop this battery out because I made it a pretty tight fit so it wouldn't pop out. I just use the back of a pair of tweezers or something. All right, but anyway, that is your Reyflex by 89 Sabers. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will get this out in the mail today. Thanks.